Having your job stolen by AI. Have you ever felt that anxiety? Actually, this fear has been repeating itself for 150 years. In 1882, in Genoa, Italy, a machine stole the bottle-washing job of 9-year-old Marco. The image Charlie Chaplin depicted in film, humans working among gears. And the real reason Superman fought machines? Okada Toshio traces history to get to the essence of the battle between machines and humans.
So then, would books like that start flooding the market? That's what this first story is about. Having your job stolen by machines. The story goes back a bit, to the end of the 19th century, something like this. The story goes back to the late 1800s, 1882. It's a story from Genoa, Italy, and 1882 was the year that Gaudi began construction on the Sagrada Familia in Spain. So it was that long ago, though in some ways it was also quite a 9-year-old boy in Genoa. Italy decided to quit school and start working. I should mention, he's not a real person. His name is Marco Rossi, the protagonist of 3000. Marco Rossi, from 300 Leagues in Search of. After Flanders no Inu became a huge, when a different team made another anime, and after a 1-year break. The duo of Hayao Miyazaki. Well, Isao Takahata was the director, so the main character of the anime, where Hayao Miyazaki. Personally, I think the Takahata-Miyazaki duo produced their greatest masterpiece. Isao Takahata and Hayao Miyazaki adapted this original work, 3000 League, based on a chapter from Core, a book often found in elementary school libraries, which is said to be Italy's book of morals for children. It's said that more or less every Italian has read it. And from within it, a short story of only about Isao Takahata, with Miyazaki, stretched it out into a roughly 50-episode year-long anime series. And they pulled it off. To turn it into a year-long series, Isao Takahata thoroughly researched the customs and culture of late 19th century, going even further than he did with Heidi of the Alps. If you're interested, read Core, Heart. It's very short, and you'll be shocked by how quickly he reunites with his mother. Wow, this is the real original, isn't it? What they call Nez Sanzili. It's also the last work from the Miyazaki Takahata collaboration. Miyazaki did help with Takahata's anime on and of Green Gables too. But as a full-on collaboration, this was their last project together. In 19th century Genoa, Italy, there were many poor. Marco Rossi's father. His father ran a hospital for the poor. His father's name was Pietro Rossi. He ran a hospital, but he wasn't actually. Marco Rossi's father was a clerk. When I was watching the anime, he runs a hospital, so he must be a doctor, constantly called poor, poor, poor. Because he was while having to deal with all the whims and demands of the doctor, the hospital finances collapsed and things got so bad they were on the verge of bankruptcy. So Marco's mother, his wife, ended up having to go to Buenos Aires, Argentina, to work. Why would anyone go all the way to South America, to Argentina, to work? Well, at the time, from the late 19th, Argentina was actually the wealthiest country in the world. Agriculture and exports, what you'd call Argentine beef, became hugely successful, making it a great agriculture, and it was really like the prosperous America of its time, a place where anyone could go and become wealthy. So Marco's mother went there to make money. But at this point, young Marco Rossi was still just a 9-year-old child, and longing for his mother. After a few months, the letters from his mother in Argentina that had been arriving at first gradually stopped coming. And eventually the letters stopped and the money she'd been sending to his father stopped coming too. Marco was very worried. So he asked his friend Emilio, another child, and got himself a bottle washing job. This is the scene where he gets the bottle washing job. A man named Girardi, the chubby one in front. I can work too, dark-haired Marco, with Emilio vouching for him on the side. But Girardi grumbles, a kid can't do this work. Bottle washing is tough stuff, making a sour face. But Marco, the second image, though just a kid, works incredibly hard, holding a bunch of bottles in his hands. You can see he starts scrubbing every bottle in the entire courtyard, and astonishes Girardi. And Girardi says, "Wow, this kid really works. All right, I'll give you a job." So in 1882, in the port town of Genoa, Italy, 9-year-old Marco would go to school and wash bottles after class, planning to hand the earnings over to his father. But then in episode 9, I'm sorry, something terrible happens to his Marco, worried that letters from his mother have stopped coming. Finally decides to quit school too. He's only 9, still in elementary school. I'm never going to school again. Emilio is worried. But Marco secretly quits school without even telling. He goes to Girardi's shop and wants to do more bottle washing, but for some reason Girardi hasn't shown up yet. So he does everything on his own, then says, "I've already done nearly 100 bucks. I'm not going to school at all anymore. I'm going to stay here and work, so please keep giving me work," he says. But Girardi's face is very dark. His dark face. And the reason is, a bottle washing machine has been... Some idiot came up with this ridiculous thing. A bottle washing machine got invented. And with that machine, you can wash hundreds of bottles an hour, they say. It's over for this shop. Girardi's entire shop went bankrupt. The era of humans washing bottles by hand was over. Italy was known as a country of craftsmen. But even that craftsman nation was hit by the Industrial Revolution sweeping in at the end of the 19th century, the final wave, and it reached even something as small as bottle washing. Even that trivial job got taken over by a bottle washing, and Girardi went bankrupt. And as a small severance, Girardi gives him what he has on hand, 1 lira. Just 1 lira, he hands to Marco. And this is the last money I can give you, he says. And I think Girardi is admirable as an adult, honestly. Said the job's done. It's over. But he didn't just turn Marco away. In the end, even just 1 lira, knowing he hands over money he really doesn't want to give up. But getting only 1 measly lira, complains, "Can't you give me, is there a union or something?" Grumbling and griping, and then storms out of the shop. Like this, many people haven't. But the Marco of 3,000 Leagues is both adorable and infuriating at the same. It's funny. He reminds me so much of Kuan-chan from Mirai of the Future. But because it's done so skillfully, you can still enjoy watching it. That's the charm of 3,000 Leagues. And this wasn't limited to Italy. In 1936, Charlie Chaplin made a film called Modern Times. It's hard to make out, but there are lots of gears, and Chaplin is working among them. America was the same way. People who used to work with pride as craftsmen suddenly found conveyor belts appearing out of nowhere, and their job became taking the parts carried and bolting them down, one after another. And eventually, you get caught up in the machinery and carried away somewhere. Chaplin plays it as comedy, but this was the reality felt by Americans of the time, or probably by craftspeople all over the world. Back then, people used to talk with each other as they worked, sometimes even sing. Some factories would read aloud to boost morale, or play, which eventually became common. But all that started disappearing, replaced by the assembly line work of the conveyor belt. People had become slaves to machines. This fear of having your job stolen by machines was enormous from the late 19th to early 20th century. It was an absolutely massive source of terror. Let me give you another example of this. Also in 1938, after Chaplin made Modern Times, America's very first superhero comic was born. This is Superman, the first issue of Action Comics. 1938. Superman is lifting a car. But why is he smashing this car? Superman. These are the covers from roughly the first 2 years after launch. And they mostly look like this. Destroying a tank, stopping a train with one hand, climbing onto an airplane, battling it. Interestingly, the very early Superman very often fights machines. Fighting machines was a common theme for Superman. The point of Superman's power was that he was stronger than machines. So, alongside, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound, stopping a train, always came up. It always appears. And why? Because it was an era where you had to show that humans were stronger than machines. That's how much, up through the 1930s, ordinary people, especially common folks, feared having their labor stolen by machines. One example of this is John Henry.